Okay, we start again with the whole body awareness. We use the knowing part of the mind to tune in to whatever sensations there are from the body. Now, because the body is not doing anything, we are sitting still. We gradually become aware of more subtle sensations and feelings from the body. This is the time we do not use our thinking mind. So whatever we feel, whatever we sense, we simply accept without a preference. We receive the signals from the body as it is, as they are. No matter what type of sensations. Because we have no preference, we have no judgment. The knowing mind is always calm, even though the sensations may change. You may feel comfortable. You may feel a little bit itchy. You may feel a little bit sore. You may feel a little bit tense. You may feel relaxed. Whatever you feel, it is what it is. We simply accept it. Because we are not thinking about anything. Our mind is always in the present. Sensing the present. Being in the present. Each moment. Now let us experience the mind awake and clear without any thoughts. Just pure silence, pure stillness. Just being in the moment. Not looking at anything, not listening to anything. Just simply being still, being awake, being in the present. What kind of experience is this? Okay, from this class on, I would like to begin the class with a verse, spoken verse, to express our gratitude to the Buddha's teaching. So this is what we do. We put our palms together like this, and we say the Buddha's name 3 times. Namo Shakyamuni, Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million kalpas. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize the Tathagata's true meaning. Okay, that was called the Sutra opening verse, or Sutra opening Gatha. Basically, it says that to be able to hear and learn the Buddha's teaching is precious, it's rare and precious. And we wish to be able to fully understand the original meaning of the teaching. Now, the Buddha is the enlightened one, so he knows the truth and he is truly free. But throughout the ages, there have been many, many Buddhist masters who have achieved the Buddha's vision. We call them awakened or enlightened. Not fully, completely, perfectly enlightened like the Buddha, but they have the Buddha's vision regarding the truth about life. And so they would know correctly the Buddha's original teaching. And it is these past masters that preserve the essence of those teaching, generation after generation, for 2,500, 2,600 years until today. So we should really be grateful and know that this is a special precious opportunity. Okay? All right, so previously we have studied several of those stories from the Chinese Zen masters, and we were looking at...
师父, you are not sharing the screen.
I'm not sharing the screen. Oh, that's weird. Okay, let me see. Well, you should have told me earlier, okay? So if something goes wrong, let me know immediately, because I was sharing before and I don't know what happened. I'm not seeing the controls of the Zoom. Where are they? What happened to the controls? Okay. Am I sharing now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is correct, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in the previous class, we had a story from Dazhu Huihai, who was awakened upon hearing the teaching from his Shifu, Master Mazu. He went to Master Mazu and said, I want to learn the Buddha Dharma, I want to learn the Buddha's teaching. And the master said, why are you running around outside like a homeless person? Yeah, you ignoring your own treasure from within. And with that teaching, he was awakened. Okay, so there's one of the important thing is that the greatest treasure in this world or in life is within ourselves already. We already have it, but most of us do not fully realize it. Okay, it's like you have a great pearl that is hidden somewhere in your house. You just never know that it existed. Okay, but it's always been there. So this great treasure is always being within us. So how do we discover this? How do we do that? And the fourth patriarch said, well, you don't actually need to find it, to seek, sort of like go on a treasure hunt to find this treasure within. But all you have to do is to let go of all the judging, let go of all the liking and disliking, let go of all those attachments to the likes and dislike, and your mind will clear of itself. And when the mind is clear, you will be able to fully realize the great potential, the great power, and the great peace, and the great freedom, and the great wisdom from within yourself. Okay? Now, let us learn a little more about this. So with the first story today, let us look at this story from Guishan Lingyou. Now, Guishan is a great master who was one of the founders of the 5 houses of Chan, 5 houses of Zen. So the Zen teaching came from Bodhidharma from India, and then he passed down the teaching, the mind Dharma, the essence of the Buddha's teaching, to a Chinese master, the second patriarch, Hui Ke, and then to the third patriarch, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth. The sixth was the great master Huineng. And then we have been learning about stories from descendants, Dharma descendants of Huineng, right? And eventually, after 50 years or maybe 80 years, the Chan teaching became a really popular and important, influential in China. And it developed into the 5 houses of Zen, or 5 houses of Chan. And Guishan is one of the houses, the founder of one of the houses, or one of the lineage, okay? So let's look at the story, a teaching from Master Guishan. The title doesn't sound very attractive, called Removing Excrement, okay? So one day a monk came to learn from Master Guishan. He said, what is the way? Now, of course, that is always the main concern. What is the essence? What is the way? What is the ultimate truth? What is the way? The master replied, no mind is the way. And the monk says, I don't understand. And master said, good. Realize that which does not understand. So the monk is still confused. What is that which does not understand? The master said, it is only you, not others. Just you. Just you. And nothing else. And then the master continued with some elaboration. He said, if people nowadays will only directly grasp that which does not understand, that would truly be your mind, truly be your Buddha. So that is the real Buddha. Do not seek the Buddha from outside. It's not a statue, it's not the person. The real Buddha is within. After all, the Buddha means the awakened one, right? You can awaken yourself. So truly, your true Buddha is that which does not understand. If you seek knowledge or understanding from the outside and take it to be the Chan way, you are not even close. That is called bringing in excrement. Now, excrement is manure, right? Dung, poop. So smelly, terrible things that the body does not need. That's why we'll poop it out. So these are the junk, the waste that we don't need. However, people always been bringing those excrement into their own lives. Instead of removing excrement, which is what a spiritual cultivator do in Buddhism, the Chan practitioner, instead of bringing new things into their life, they simply take out the junk out of their lives. That's called removing excrement. Take out the poop. Because whatever you're taking from outside only defiles your mind field. Now, the mind is often compared to like a rice field. You plant the seeds, you cultivate the field by giving it water and nutrients, and then you harvest. You have great harvest. So the mind is like a field. So you are contaminating your mind field by seeking knowledge from outside. Therefore, no way is the way. Okay, so this is a very quintessential Zen teaching. No way is the way. And it reaffirms the teaching previously about we are already complete within ourselves, so only need to take out what is not necessary, what is confusing us, what is messing our life up. We take those junk outside of our lives, taking out the excrement. So here the Master says, good, just realize that which does not understand. So look into our lives. Our lives, we try to learn things, right? We learn many, many things. And how do we learn these things? By comparing, by learning the labels, giving names, and then learning the characteristics of things. And then we compare and we judge, and we remember. So that's called learning this knowledge, right? So we have been doing this all our life. And ignoring a different part of our mind. The mind is very powerful, is able to learn many things. So within our audience, we have people who are teachers, people who are scientists, engineers, people who are Kung Fu masters, people who are musicians, people who are nurses and doctors, people who are doing have all kinds of expertise. So we already learn how to learn certain things. That part of our mind we know something about already. But there's a different part of our mind that the Zen masters want us to focus on, because that is the key to real peace and real freedom. And what is that part of the mind? It's that which does not understand. Now, this is confusing, right? But remember in the meditation at the beginning of this class, beginning of this session, Shifu began by asking you to pay attention to your body, but not by thinking about it, not by thinking about the body. What would be an example about thinking about your body? Oh, did I lose some weight? Did I gain some weight? Do I look good? How is my skin? Am I strong? Am I getting weaker? Am I sick? All of that is the consciousness part of the mind, the judging, the comparison, and all the worries, all the stress and all the fear come from that part of the mind. But let us tune into a different part of the mind, which is the part that simply is aware, that it simply knows these sensations, knows these feelings, but it doesn't judge, it just simply knows. Can you do that? We can. It is subtle. It is subtle, but let's try. It's a different kind of learning. It's not learning by comparing and judging and having preferences and remembering names and labels. It is learning by getting rid of all that, getting rid of all that learning processes, that analytical process, getting rid of all of that by simply being awake and being receptive and being aware. Now, the whole body awareness meditation is to practice this knowing mind on a specific thing called this body. You can practice this knowing mind on something else like the feelings or even your thoughts, but it's more advanced. Let us just begin by practicing this knowing on the body and try not to judge anything. So that means if you feel comfortable or not comfortable, it's okay. You keep a level mind, a mind that is balanced, level, not judging, and just present, accepting whatever is there. Now, this is actually a really important skill. Whether you are Buddhist or not, whether you want to enlightenment or not, it's actually a really important living skill. Just receive, accept, aware, and that's it. Why? Because our worries, our stress, our suffering, our unhappiness all come from the other part of the mind, the consciousness part of the mind. And there's none of that in this knowing part of the mind. And that is that which does not understand. It doesn't try to understand anything. It simply receives. There's no knowledge acquiring process. It's simply being tuned in to what is happening. You see? That's something we are not so familiar with, right? But this is really important too, because in this part of the mind, if we can use this part of the mind, we can use it to guide the other part of the mind, the consciousness, the thinking part of the mind. We can use this knowing part of the mind to guide better the feelings and emotions part of our mind. Because this knowing part of the mind is always peaceful. It is always at ease. It doesn't go up and down in an emotional roller coaster. It simply just is, being in the present. And that is the key to enlightenment. So realize that which does not understand. That we're not talking about being ignorant. We're not talking about shutting off our senses or feelings or thoughts. We're not talking about that. We're talking about let that part do its own thing, but let us tune in to the knowing part, to the very baseline function of our mind, which is simply to know and to be aware. Tuning that part which does not try to understand, but simply directly experience life as it is. Okay? So, Shifu talked about this in this talk that we did a couple years ago called Knowing, Consciousness, Awareness, and Mindfulness. I suggest you to go back and listen to this talk again to become more familiar with this teaching. All right, so that is our first story today, carrying the poop, the junk out of our life. Get rid of the junk instead of taking in more stuff. All right, that is a key to realize your own treasure. And previously we also learned that when we realize this, our own treasure within, then this mind can actually know everything. Well, why is that? Let us continue to study some of these stories. The next story we're going to look at is by another master who is a disciple of Mazu. His name is Da Mei Fa Chang. Okay, Da Mei, Da means big, Mei means plum. He lived in this mountain called Damei, the Great Plum Mountain. His Dharma name is Fa Chang. Okay, so he went to, the story is called The Plum is Ripe. So Fa Chang, as a learning Chan monk, he visited Mazu and he asked, what is Buddha? What is Buddha? Mazu replied, this very mind is Buddha. Now we know that this is a main theme in all of the Zen teaching. So Mazu came up with some very powerful way to express the teaching. One is the ordinary mind, which we study for a couple of weeks, right? Another thing that he said that became really popular or influential is, this mind is the Buddha. Now, in the Zen Center of Sunnyvale outside, there's a big statue. It says exactly that. This mind is the Buddha in Chinese. So he said, this very mind is Buddha. Upon hearing this, Fa Chang experienced a profound awakening. Yeah. So, some of these disciples, they were very, very spiritually mature or advanced, shall we say. So with a very brief teaching, they get awakened. But not everybody. Some of them took many, many, many years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, in order to get enlightened. Okay, so don't despair. So upon hearing this, Fa Chang was awakened. And then he didn't stay with Master Mazu for long. He went to live in a seclusion at a formal retreat, somewhere in the mountains somewhere. Okay, so he stayed there for quite a while, maybe a few years. So one day, Master Mazu heard the news about this Fa Chang, right? Several years ago, he came and he asked you a question, and then he think he got enlightened, and he went away to practice on his own. So Master Mazu wanted to wanted to test whether this disciple is truly awakened or not. By the way, the host, please admit people as they come in. I'm seeing a few people coming in late. When Mazu heard that Fa Chang had settled in the mountain, he sent a monk to ask him, what did you attain upon seeing Master Mazu, that made you decide to settle in this mountain? Because not everybody can go to the mountain and live by himself. Why? Because if you don't fully understand the Dharma, if you don't know what you're doing, then you should follow a teacher. You should find a good teacher and stay and learn with the teacher. Otherwise, you don't even know whether you've gone to the wrong path or not. Okay? Okay, some people are expressing concern about the noise, the weird thing that happened at the beginning of the class. I don't really know what's going on. So after the class, we'll discuss with the TA and see what's going on, okay? All right, so let's continue. So out of concern, Master Mazu wanted to know whether this disciple Fa Chang knows what he's doing. Okay? So he sent another disciple to test him. So the other disciple found found Fa Chang in this seclusion, and he brought a message. Master says, what did you attain? What did you realize? Fa Chang replied, the master told me this very mind is the Buddha. So I settled here. In other words, that's all I needed. This mind is the Buddha. So the visiting monk said, but Master Ma's teaching has recently changed. Oh? What do you mean? How has it changed? The visiting monk said, he now says, there's no mind, there's no Buddha. There's no mind, there's no Buddha. Okay, that seems like the total opposite of Mazu's teaching before, right? But it's the same teacher. Fa Chang said, that old fellow is confusing people to no end. Let him say, no Buddha, no mind. I'll just stick with this very mind is Buddha. Now, this is a surprising reply. First of all, this old fellow, he's referring to his own Shifu. Now you know that in Buddhism especially, in the Eastern culture and in Buddhism especially, you should speak of your Shifu with great respect. Now this seems like a very disrespectful way of talking about your own Shifu, right? That old man is always confusing people. I don't care what he says. I'll just stay with this very mind is Buddha. So I'm pretty sure that the visiting monk was surprised. So he went back and brought the response back to Mazu. And do you know what Mazu said? He said, the plum is ripe. Now remember, Fa Chang was staying at this mountain called Great Plum Mountain, Damei Shan. He said the plum is ripe. So instead of being offended or upset at this disrespectful disciple Fa Chang, Mazu was actually happy. He actually, when he said the plum is ripe, he's giving his affirmation to Fa Chang's realization. Okay, so now Mazu is a very well-known master during his lifetime. So when that news spread in the Chan community, people knew that, oh, Mazu had another great awakened disciple. Let's go study with him. Let's go practice with him. So from there on, people call him the Great Plum Zen Master, Damei. Okay, so let's reflect on this story a bit. The couple strange things. First of all, how can you talk about your Shifu that way, right? Was he actually being disrespectful? What do you think? And if so, how come Mazu was not offended? How come he wasn't unhappy about that? But even before that, why did Master Mazu send a monk to tell him, oh, before I told you this mind is the Buddha, now I'm teaching there's no mind, there's no Buddha. So which teaching is the correct teaching? What do you think? Now, in many Zen stories, you will find what seem like contradictory sayings. One master may say this, another master may say something opposite. However, when these two masters encounter each other, they have no problem with each other. And in this case, it's even the same master who seemed to contradict himself. But is it really a contradiction? No, it is not really a contradiction. Why not? Because each teaching, this mind is the Buddha, there's no mind, there's no Buddha, is a way to help you, help us, take out the junk. So in the first case, Fa Chang, like the previous disciple, Da Zhu, Hui Hai, who was running around trying to discover the great treasure in life. And Master told him, the treasure is within yourself. In the same way, Fa Chang didn't know the great treasure within himself. So he said, show me the way. And Mazu said, your mind is the Buddha. Now the Buddha is the greatest treasure, right? It's the most precious thing. Your mind is the Buddha, is Buddha. So it is similar. It's just a different way of saying the treasure is within. The greatest treasure in life is within. You just have to believe it. You have to believe it and then recognize it. Not just blind faith, but you got to recognize. How do you recognize? That which does not understand. Focus on tuning in to that which does not understand, because if we always use the conscious part, which always compares and judges, well, we're never enlightened. We never just, we are, our life is always in this up and down, and then we don't know who's the master here. We're always looking. Philosophers from West and East for thousands of years have been contemplating this great issue, but not able to find it because we're always using the analytical mind, the thinking mind. That is what we don't need to do. That's taking in the junk. All we need to do is take out the junk. What is the junk? Always judging, always comparing, always choosing, always this, that. You see how all of this teaching really follows the same underlying thread. Tuning to that which is just is. Okay? All right, so that's good. But there must be more, right? Because so what? I can sit here in meditation and I can quiet my mind and there's nothing going on. I feel quiet and still. I even may feel serene. But how am I any wiser? Am I any wiser? I don't feel any wiser. I don't seem to see any more than I see before. So what's going on here? Well, let us continue. Let's look at the next story. A monk asks. So this is with Changsha Jingchen. He is another master that we will learn about his story later. Okay, so the story is called Be a Donkey and a Horse. A monk asked, where did Master Nanquan go after his passing? Master Nanquan is his master. Okay, so Changsha Jingchen, Master Jingchen, who lived or is from Changsha region. Now he was enlightened under this master Nanquan. So a monk asked, where did Master Nanquan go after his passing? So apparently Changsha's Master Nanquan has already passed on. He's passed away. He's dead. So now in Buddhism, when you die, you get reborn and into a good place or a worse place, depending on your karma, right? So it's a reasonable question. For a great enlightened master like Master Nanquan, where will he go? What will he be reborn as? Yeah. So Master Jingchen, he replied, be a donkey on the east side, be a horse on the west side. 东家做驴，西家做马. Now, this is a really bizarre answer in so many ways, right? So the monk says, I don't understand. What is the meaning? And Jingchen said, if you want to ride, then ride. If you want to dismount, then dismount. Okay, this is very confusing, even for Chinese. So a little bit of cultural context. There's a saying in Chinese, 做驴做马, be a donkey and a horse, which is a Chinese idiom meaning to slave or labor for someone over a long time. So usually you will hear many Chinese children will hear their parents tell them, I've been a donkey and a horse for you all my life. I worked so hard for you. I work so hard for you. And you don't even, know to not show any respect or show any gratitude. So that's something that many of us have experienced. Now, when you are younger, many of us don't fully appreciate how much our parents have done for us, right? They actually have been a donkey and a horse. They work so hard for us, to provide for us, to raise us. Only when we become parents ourselves, or when we are mature enough, do we realize, how difficult it is to be a parent and how much they've done the sacrifice for their children, right? So that's one of the primary ways that this idiom is used, to be a donkey and a horse for you. All right, so with that background, let's go back. Master Nanquan, he be a donkey on the east side and be a horse on the west side. So here he was a donkey, and there he was a horse, which implies that when this Master Nanquan he passed away, he was reborn as a donkey, and then in another lifetime, the next lifetime, he was reborn as a horse. Now that is really weird, because he's an enlightened master. He's supposed to transcend. Hopefully he transcends birth and death, but what's going on here? Why is he reborn as an animal? Why is he reborn as an animal? So there's another context, another teaching we need to know is the karma, right? Or cause and effect. When we do create good karma, mostly good karma in our life, in the next life, we should be in a better position. If you're a person, if you're a human being, you will be born into as a person who is wealthy or well off, or having a status, or having intellect, having talents, or good looking. So these are kind of the blessings that come from doing good deeds. But on the other hand, if I created a lot of bad deeds, created bad karma, I hurt others, took advantage of others, created bad karma, then I get reborn as an animal, or even worse, as a ghost, hungry ghost, or even go to hell, depends on how terrible the karma is, right? So to be born as an animal is a lower realm, meaning more suffering. But that doesn't make sense. Why would a Zen master, a great Zen master, become a donkey? But here's the key. The monk says, I don't understand. What are you saying? Master Jingzhen said, if you want to ride, then ride. If you want to dismount, then dismount. Now, the donkey or the horse doesn't get to choose, right? If the owner of the horse wants to ride, then they ride. If they want to get off, dismount, they can dismount. But the horse doesn't get to choose. In other words, they are beasts of burden, right? Now, the owner is the one that is free to ride or dismount. So here is another paradox. Master Nanquan, he is reborn as a donkey or horse, but then if you want to ride, then ride. If you want to dismount, then dismount. In other words, what is he saying? He's saying that even as an animal, the master has this power, this freedom. What does that mean? Well, a Zen story is not meant to have a standard answer or standard explanation. So all Shifu is giving you here are hints or possible perspectives to understand the story. Now, if you think about being a horse and being a donkey, did the children ask their parents to do that? No. The parents willingly work so hard for their children, right? In other words, to be a donkey and a horse is something you're willing to do out of your own free will. You want to give. You want to help. You want to give them this. So this connects with the idea of a bodhisattva in Buddhism. A bodhisattva is someone who made a vow, who set a goal to help all living beings, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, for no reward, not for some reward. They just simply, purely want to give. So, one way to read the story is that Master Nanquan, when he passes, he continues to work for others, continue to teach or to help countless others, but in a way that is in control. He has the freedom. If he wants to ride, he rides. If he wants to dismount, he dismounts. And yet he worked like a horse. He worked like a donkey. Yeah? Willingly. Sacrifice. Well, he doesn't look at it as a sacrifice, but he devotes his life for others. So that is what an enlightened master does. Alive or after. Yeah? So if you look at the Buddha, after his enlightenment, he taught tirelessly up and down the Ganges River basin, yeah, for the rest of his life. When Master Xuanzang, a great monk in China, he traveled to India and studied there for many years and mastered the Dharma teaching. And he brought many thousands of scrolls of Sanskrit texts back to China and translate, spend the rest of his life, 20 years or so, translating the sutras. So about 1/4 of all the Chinese sutras were translated by Master Xuanzang. They work like a donkey and a horse, purely to serve. And yet, in a way, like a master, like the master of the horse. If he wants to ride, he rides. If he wants to dismount, he's dismount. The Buddha sometimes go into a forest and meditate for quite a while. He doesn't teach during that time. And then when he wants to teach, he comes and teach. Okay, so that's one way to understand this. Now let's look at the story with the next story together, and that will be the last one today. Now this is Nanyang Huizhong. We have studied several stories by this. This is the national teacher, right? So here is a teaching that will wrap up everything we have talked about today. So the monk asked, what is Buddha? Same question, right? What is Buddha? The master replied, Master Nanyang Huizhong, he replied, the mind itself is Buddha. Now, the stories before, Ma Zu and Nan Quan and Fa Chang, all of those, they came after this. They're like another generation or two or three generations below Huizhong. So he was even earlier, okay? What is Buddha? He said the mind itself is Buddha. The monks asked, does the mind have afflictions? That's the junk, right? That's the trash, that's the excrement. Does the mind have afflictions? The master said, the nature of afflictions is inherently unattached. So this is not a typical answer, right? But it's quite a Zen answer. So he's not saying that there's no affliction. There are afflictions. We have defilement. We have problem. We have issues. We have ignorance. We have delusion. We have issues. But the nature of these problems, the nature of these afflictions that contaminate our mind, the nature is inherently unattached. Wait a minute, that's not right, right? Because, our attachment, we grab onto things. We love this, we hate that, and it's so hard to get rid of this attachment. But why are you saying the nature of the affliction is inherently unattached? Well, that's something we need to contemplate on. The monk continued to ask, what about sitting in meditation to contemplate stillness? Now, the mind is confused, right? Deluded and goes up and down, and then gets stimulated, and is going all over the place. It's not quiet. It's not at peace. So that's why we do meditation, right? We do meditation to quiet the mind, to contemplate on stillness. Yet the master said, neither impure nor pure. Why stir the mind to seek a state of purity? Now, neither impure nor pure is a quote, is a line from the Heart Sutra. Yeah, Shariputra, the all dharmas are empty in nature, neither arising nor ceasing, neither impure nor pure, neither what was the other one? Neither increasing nor decreasing. So neither impure nor pure. Why stir the mind to seek a state of purity? So what is it saying? If the stillness or the peace of mind is inherent, to seek to attain a state of peace is artificial. However, it can be useful as a preliminary practice, right? Because our mind is so chaotic right now, usually. So you find you do the breath counting, and then you focus on the body. You don't try to think about anything. That is achieve a kind of a stillness and peace, but that is artificial still. It is it's useful, But that's not the essence of Zen practice. The Zen practice is that there's no need for that. You just realize that the nature of affliction is naturally unattached. There's nothing that your worries, whatever you find attractive or hateful, they actually don't attach to you. They don't cling to you. You choose to cling to them. So just let go of the clinging. Realize there's nothing really to cling to. Then your mind is naturally at peace. That's the only kind of peace that will stay, that will last. So the monk asks, if the mind itself is Buddha, is there still a need to cultivate the merit practices? That means all the good deeds. We're supposed to practice, the following the moral conduct and practice patience and tolerance and be diligent and then meditate and achieve stillness and then learn the Dharma teaching and be wise and help others, practice compassion, all these things, all these myriad practice, all these different kinds of practice. Do we still need to do it if we are inherently pure and still? The Master says, all sages, all the great ones, perfected two virtues, wisdom and merit. How could one deny cause and effect? So what it's saying is that even though our mind is inherently the Buddha, but in order to take the poop out, take the junk out, you need to perfect the two virtues. Merit by doing good deeds, helping others. Wisdom by understanding the Dharma, by learning the Dharma. That is still the way you need to do, because you cannot ignore cause and effect. Okay, now this is a lot in this exchange. We are not going to fully explore that, but you can contemplate on that, before next week. So let us quickly look at what we learned today. We learned that our mind is the true treasure, and that to fully realize the treasure, to be able to use this treasure, to be able to unleash the power of our mind, to be able to achieve true peace and happiness, we don't need to, the way is not to get more knowledge, get more skill. The way is to take out what is not necessary, what is blocking our view, what is confusing our mind. We just take these things out. And what is that? What is to take this junk out? Is to learn about that which does not understand, that which does not judge, that which simply knows. In other words, try not to judge, try not to analyze, try not to discriminate, try not to think for a while, and tune into this originally present part of our mind. And you need to have faith in that, because when this practice goes deeper, your vision will become more clear. And you will find that it is not that I'm not smart enough. It's not that I don't have enough knowledge, but rather it is that all my labeling and judging and falling into choosing, this uneven mind, this discriminating mind, is narrowing my vision, and make me become more and more narrow-minded and biased. And that's the problem in my life. Okay, so because of that, everybody has the treasure already. Everyone can hope to become awakened. It doesn't matter what school you went to. whether you have a high school degree or a PhD degree, that's not the point. The point is tune in to the pure and clear and present and non-judging, that which does not understand that part of your mind. And experience that stillness, that serenity, and that clarity. Okay? So this is the key. This is the key. All right. Now, Shifu has prepared many discussion questions, and I ask you to look at, I believe, was it these two questions that I asked you to?
Yes.
These are the
Catching the
discussion
thief and
questions, right?
Nobu,
Okay, good. So has your discriminating mind been stealing from your life? This goes back to the catch the thief story, right? Let us count what ways. What are the different ways our discriminating mind, our judging mind has been stealing my happiness, or making me unhappy? Yeah, in what ways? And the second discussion question is, in real life, we need to make comparisons and judgments. But we do need to compare and judge, right, sometimes. How can we do this yet still practice no good or bad? How can we do this still without, going against the Zen master's teaching? How can we reconcile the two, right? So what is the problem here? In what ways our judging mind has been affecting our life negatively? And then when we do need to choose and when we do need to judge, how can we do this in a way that is not a bad thing, that's still in accord with the Zen teaching? There is a way, right? What is the key here? So that's what we're going to discuss. Okay, so we have 20 minutes today. We only have 20 minutes until 8:30 Pacific time. All right, let's go into the break room, and then we'll resume to the main meeting at 8:30. Okay. Can we post the discussion question to the break rooms? We can put it in the chat, right?
I already put in the chat, so
Great, thanks.
I think they already, yeah.
Okay. So please join your breakout rooms. Okay, so Tina, do you know what's going on earlier? What happened at the beginning of the class, the noise?
Hold on. I think
Go ahead and take care of the break room first.
I already put them into
Is everybody in the break room?
and yeah, I think
Somebody is not. Howie is not. Okay, everybody's coming back. All right, so we are all back. I hope you had a fruitful discussion. Would anybody like to share some points that they discussed with the rest of the group? Time is precious. Please don't be afraid. Go ahead and speak up. Speak up. Hello, hello. All right, I'm gonna pick somebody now. Swati. How about you? No? All right, 法香, turn on your mic.
Thank you, 师傅。you saw me raise my hand because I can't find the button and I can't release my voice. And in our group, I have a question about the second question is how to be still practice no good or bad. That is why I'm confused about to distinguish with 持五戒 and two judgments. That is, of course, I think 五戒, the 5 bad things we can do. But if we think they are bad things, is that a judgment mind? That is
Right.
my question. Thank you.
Okay, so the 5 precepts, no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no intoxicants, right? So in order to uphold the 5 precepts, we need to compare, we need to think, we need to judge. So how do we do this with the Zen mind? Does anybody have an answer? Hello? I'm sure somebody can say something about that. Hello?
Yeah. Go ahead, Ron.
I think you did it first. I would defer to you.
Okay, Amitabha. Thank you, 师兄.
Savati?
Yeah, Shifu. Okay, sorry, I was not being able to unmute myself earlier. Okay, so yeah, to your question and what we discussed in conclusion, we said active acceptance is where it all starts, right? So yes, we have a judging, discriminating mind. And one of our members said, we're no better than others in this respect. We all do it. But having that, detecting that, we're doing that. And therefore, at that point, actively accepting where we are, taking the time to calm ourselves down, and then choosing an action where we can make the best of a situation is where we can be. And then finally, for good or bad, yes, we do live in a conventional world as well. And so, yes, we do tend to believe certain things are good or bad, but like you've been teaching us all, always, it's empty, right? And because it's empty, what's good today can turn out to be bad tomorrow. What's bad today can actually be good for us. And so just having an open mind, I think helps bring serenity. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the important point that Svati said was that, of course, we are in living in this conventional world, and there are many situations where we need to judge, but we also should remember that our judgment can change, right? Situation change, so keep an open mind and not be fixated on your judgment. That's a key. All right, Greg, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Shifu. You asked me, or you asked the group how to do it, and for me, I fall back on a practice, much of like a meditation method, simply because to me these concepts, I can still get emotional. I can still get into the thought, and if I say, well, okay, there's different ways of looking at it, there's different concepts, still judge and have a feeling of good and bad and emotion to it. So for me, the practice is much like a meditation, reminding myself, take a break, take a pause, give myself just a little bit of time, be aware of my body, my location, and then remember that my thoughts are like having the TV on. They're not real. They may be based on something practical, but they're not real. And when I can do that and recognize them as just thoughts that I'm reacting to, that allows me to have that space to then look at the situation a little bit easier, and contemplate it from the standpoint of like as if I'm, looking at a television channel. If it gets too emotional, can turn it off. So to me, it's like a method of meditation. that helps me sort of walk through this whole thing.
Okay, so one of the important points that Greg talked about is that while we still get emotional, we still get caught up in these things, and then of course, we have to make judgments. But then we should also, at the same time, remember that these are not as real as we think, right? These situations, these decisions, these facts, they are not as real as we think, in the sense that they can change according to conditions, but also I can snap out of it temporarily, just maybe step back, and then have a few moments of stillness using the knowing mind. And then, I still need to go back to it, but that does make a difference. All right, so Sweta, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, so we had a discussion in our group, and which is this. It's a bit complicated. And Shivu, I think I've met you before on this. So I'm still working on it and struggling with this. So let's say when we fall very ill in life, right? When we feel like we are terminal, you have a diagnosis. And the people close to you, the people closest to you, who let's say are your children or people around you, they not only not take care of you, but they also hurt you by their words and by their actions. How do you cope up? It's very hard to have a knowing mind, honestly, because we are human beings and we are going to have emotions. So can you still have can you still just have the pure Buddha knowing mind? Yes, I can see that you're slapping me. Yes, I can see that you're hurting me. And I'll take it, and I will not have a valence to that emotion. We can't run away, right? I know Gautam Buddha ran away from his family to get salvation. But practically speaking, in this world, it is hard to leave your house and live somewhere else. When people in your house, technically they are your children, they are living, you can't leave them. They're still not fully grown, they're not completely independent. So it is very difficult to deal with this situation where you cannot, it's hard to have a knowing mind all the time. It's very, very difficult. We are human beings. You can't leave the battlefield. And maybe the solution is, this is how I'm operating, is to not, think, not give a valence to anything, not try to make a judgment on anything that's going on, and then maybe act like you're already dead. And how would I be if I'm already dead? How would I look down? How would I feel if I look down upon the world? Everything will look so small, because death is the ultimate, salvation in my mind. It gives me so much peace that if I had died and I'm looking down on this earth and how somebody's behaving, what somebody's saying or doing, everything looks stupid. Everything looks so small. And Shifu, your wisdom here on this would be so greatly appreciated.
Well, it is the reality right now for most of us that we do get emotional, we do get caught up, and we forget the knowing mind a lot. That's the reality, right? And there's no denying about that. But if we know this practice, that we have a knowing mind, that we can try to tune in to the knowing mind, even if for a few seconds or a few minutes, right? That means there is hope that a year from now we'll be better at this. If we never know about the knowing mind and we just always caught up in our consciousness and emotions, we have no way out. But now we have a way out. It is still not easy, definitely not easy, but it is the way out, the way to transcend all of this. And as Sweta, you talked about some of these ways to help us to practice. And There's to look from above. If we look at our own life 10 years ago, 20 years ago, what was happening then? It seemed like big things. But now you look back, no big deal, right? In the same way, if we can imagine that we are already looking at our everyday, present day life from a perspective that is like 10 years from now or 20 years from now, or even when I'm passed away, what does this all matter, right? And so we want to get used to the idea that what is happening right now, they are not so real. They have never been real as we think they are. Just like you look at 20 years ago, the things, now they seem like a dream, right? They're not that real. They happen, yes. But you don't get so emotional about what happened 10 years, 20 years ago. So the wise person can do that with the present day, with the present moment. The wise person can do that with the present moment. That is so the transcendence is not due to time necessarily. It's due to your perspective. Right now, if we have a higher perspective, if we get used to the perspective that this is not that real, this is not that, it's our attachment, it's our holding on to it and thinking that it is real, that make it real, right? So somebody says something, words that hurt you, but these are just words. These are just labels. These are just emotions that he has. How real is that? It's as real as you want to take it. So we have the power. We have the power to decide how real that is. Okay? All right. Vandana, you want to say something? Vandana, please.
Amitopo Shifu. Yeah, so I'm just going to bring in here the other teachings, the ancient teaching of Theravada, which I'm also learning. So it's all boils down to the Four Noble Truths, right? So there is suffering. So the main thing is we just try to remember that there is suffering. We are born into this body because we have those causes. We created those causes and conditions for ourselves to become as a human being. And whatever circumstances or situations are we facing because of our attachment, as you mentioned, the clinging to our own ideas and perceptions and feelings and all that. So that's how we start to see things, and then the judgments are part of that whatever perception we create based on the feeling. So all these things that comes to the Noble Eightfold Path, which Buddha laid down to us, that if we skip that part and go directly to the knowing mind, it might be a little difficult for the normal people. So that's how I started my journey with first Mahayana and then went to Theravada, and coming back to Mahayana. Now I think the path seems more complete, that what is Eightfold Path with Buddha laid down, the right view, right intention, right effort, right livelihood, and right samadhi and all that. So those everything I think brings back to this, that why we have judgments, right? Because we have this mind, and then the mind has the knowing element, which is mostly hidden because our thinking mind operates most of the time, which creates this discrimination, this distinction between me, and that's you. So when you start to understand that, I think that becomes easier to grasp this idea of emptiness and the knowing element of our minds. Otherwise, most of us are thinking that this is my body, this is my feeling, this is my perception, all this me. When you sit in the samadhi practice or the shamatha meditation and you start to see this, you're not the body, you're not even the thinking mind, you are the knowing, which can see these changes, sensation, as Shifu was mentioning, that what sensations are happening in the body. If you can see it, that means that's not you. if you can see your thoughts, means that's not you, right? So you see your feelings. So you start observing all those elements which you think that's you, but basically you're not. But for that, you need to experience that. I feel like this, otherwise, like Shweta, that girl who's being mad at the Buddha, Gautam Buddha left his family for him. He was here for the bigger reason, and we can't, like same like Shifu, right? Shifu doesn't have a family. So the teachers, they see this big truth that there is suffering because we are born as a human being. Because we had done something. We have to accept that. We are not enlightened. We are not something devas. We are
So
humans.
yes,
Yeah. Thank you, Shifu.
so we are born into this body and into these situations. That's from the past karma. So acceptance is really important. One of the things that make our suffering worse is when we don't accept. For example, we think our children shouldn't talk to us like this. That is non-acceptance. But our children are behaving today the way they are behaving because of many years of cause and conditions, right? So there's no point blaming anybody, but that's the way it is right now. We have to accept it. They're not gonna change overnight. So, but if we don't accept it, say, oh, you shouldn't talk to me like that. My boss shouldn't do this to me. That is called going to against what's happening, and that makes the suffering worse. So acceptance is not being pessimistic. Acceptance is not doing nothing. Acceptance is actually the first step in actively living your life, facing what is happening. Okay? You don't like the way that your children is talking to you or your boss is talking to you. All right? Let us be calm, have a calm mind, and think about what can I do, not what they do. What can I do to change the situation a little bit, right? That's because I can change my interaction. I cannot ask them to change their interaction. So acceptance is important. And when we accept things, we are calm, and then we can think about what are the little things or big things we can do to make a difference. And also having a higher perspective, having an open mind. This is something we need to understand better. Having a higher perspective means, okay, so look at the Buddha's life. He was the Buddha. He was the prince. It was things like he had everything, right? He could become a king. He could have all the women, all the wealth, and all the food, but then he left out of that. Now and became a Buddha. So okay, so he became a Buddha. He achieved the highest level of perfection. Is his life smooth? No, his life was not smooth, even as a Buddha. One of his disciples, Devadatta, tried to assassinate him several times. Yeah, and then he was starved. He was starved for summer retreat because a disciple promised to support a Sangha during the summer retreat and forgot about it. All right, so he experienced hunger, he experienced assassination, and also his group, the Sakya group, was eliminated. It was a genocide. Was eliminated by a neighboring enemy tribe. So how horrible is that? If we look at it today, this same kind of thing is happening in this world right now. Horrible things are happening. But then the Buddha was the Buddha. He was calm, he was peaceful. He did what he could to prevent the war. But then when he could not prevent the war, it happened. It happened, still happened. His tribe was killed. Was mostly, eliminated. So that is the perspective. Things happen, and they are karma wheels. Karma wheels that we cannot change their direction. So the only thing we do is accept it. And know that our suffering doesn't come from those events, these outside events. Suffering comes from your perspective, how you look at these events, right? You know that there are Holocaust survivors who live in peace, even facing their, enemy. Yeah. And there are people who complain all the time, even though they're living a rich and comfortable life. It's just the perspective. This is the key. This is so important. The way we look at what is happening. We have to make judgment, yes, but then we cannot be attached to the result. We cannot be attached to the result. It is when we do not want something to happen that makes us suffer even more. So there's all kinds of reality that we still have to face. We're not good at our practice yet. We still get emotional. We still suffer. We still get hurt. That all of that happens, yes. And it's not gonna be eliminated overnight. But we have a way out. It's by studying the Four Noble Truths. It's by practicing the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So go back and review Shifu's teaching in the half-day retreat on mindfulness of feeling. Mindfulness of feeling again and again until you can really practice it. You can remember the teaching. The feelings are not real. The feelings are not I. The feelings are ripples in the ocean of my mind, remember. When we forget that, they become real and it becomes unbearable. Okay? So go back and review the teaching over and over again. Okay? And it's not, it's gonna take time, it's gonna take patience, but things will change. You gotta have faith, things will change. When you begin to switch out the old perspective and switching the new perspective, things are not so real. People's words are not real. They're just vibrations in the air. They are not real. They're only as real as you want them to be, what people say to you. Some people can call me the devil and say really nasty things in a foreign language and I don't understand, and it doesn't matter at all, right? So how real is that? It's not real. They're not real. What is real is the way you look at things, but you can change that. Change the way you look at things, and you can transcend. Okay. Okay, so I didn't really about the hacking thing in the beginning of the video, the course. I didn't really see what was going on, so there's a suggestion to take it out of the public first and cut it first. So
Shifu, you would want to do that. It came twice. It was
Okay.
very explicit pornography, extremely
Really?
explicit,
Oh my goodness.
extremely explicit pornography with screaming. And I'm 72 years old and I'm not a prude, but I had never really seen anything like that before. So it
Wow.
was,
Okay.
at least on my screen, it happened twice when we first put our palms together and then just a minute or two later when you started, it was the same thing played again.
Oh yeah. One of our
Yeah.
TA was saying that this kind of thing seems to be happening in other Zoom meetings as well. There's a hacking going on definitely. So we are going to take it out of the public until we can edit it. Okay. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. We'll look into what we can do to deal with that.
We
Okay, what-
maintained our mindfulness and went on. So it was a good practice.
Good practice.
Just went on.
It's a challenge to our mindfulness practice. That's the way
Yeah.
to look at it. Yeah.
Everything you taught today, Shifu, really applied, and it was an active practice, and I really appreciate it. Everything you said today, it helped so much. Thank you.
Okay. All right, our time is up, and we'll see you again same time next week. All right, and Happy New Year. It is for many Asian countries, this is the New Year, the Spring Festival, or the Lunar New Year. It's the year of the serpent. And the serpent is symbolize agility, being flexible. So we want our mind to be flexible, yeah. And also we know the snake shed its skin when the skin becomes a bondage, becomes a trap. So this is what we need to do. We need to shed the trap, the old skin that is trapping our mind, yeah. So it's very meaningful to begin the year. This is the year of the serpent. All right. Well, let us conclude the class with the dedication. Let us put up
Shifu,
palms.
can we, sorry, Shifu, can we have Ron add? I think he gave me his spot. He was wanting to say something.
Yes, please.
Oh, never mind. Shifu covered everything I want to say and much more. So I really don't have anything to add, but I appreciate the thought. Amitabha.
Okay, let's put our palms together and a few moments of silence to make your own dedication. We dedicate the merits from our studying the Dharma together to all the participants. May you have all your suffering eradicated. May we can take the junk out of our lives and make progress in our mindfulness practice. We dedicate the merits to all the hackers who try to disrupt the world in their meetings, and may they find something better and more worthwhile to do. And we dedicate the merits to peace in the world. May all the suffering, the disasters in the world end soon, and that we can live in harmony. Okay, we'll see you next week.
Let us put our palms together and thank Jinhu Shifu for the lecture.
Oh, very welcome.
Amitabha.
Thank you.
Amitabha, Happy New Year.
Amitabha.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.